Welcome back. Matt from Jaggers Brewing Co. I'm told it's 88 degrees outside today. It feels like 103. I would beg to differ. I think it's 300 degrees outside today, and I think it feels like it's over 9,000. But today's project is going to be Roggenbier. This is the second video for today. We're still in mid-June, and the temperature difference between inside and outside today is ridiculous. So as soon as I wipe off the dew and condensation off this glass, it just immediately appears back on this beer. So this is this year's version of Roggenbier. If you go back and watch the original Roggenbier beer video, you'll see basically that thing won us a medal. That same beer that we did a video off of won this bronze at OpFirm today. Not today. Won us a medal at OpFirm this year on the Lone Star Circuit. So that's pretty exciting. That thing finally hit. It's had some high scores. It's had some low scores. It's had some funny comments thrown at it on the score sheets for the competitions that I've gotten back. So this is this year's beer. I just wanted to go over it very briefly. This one's a little bit different than last year's, essentially. I have been fighting a lot of carbonation issues on it this year, switching from like bottle condition to bottling from the keg and stuff. And so I got the new beer gun. Well, I got a beer gun new, and I put it into process of being able to bottle beers from it. And so this was one of the first beers that I used it on. So I kind of had some issues. I'm starting to hone in the processes of using that thing. So we're getting better on it. So I've got this thing in a few competitions this year, as has been the story for quite a few of these beers that I've been releasing for the channel lately. So cheers, y'all. I'm going to take a test, a taste test of it here real quick, and then we're going to talk about it and the recipe very briefly, because it is really, really hot outside. If you go back and you look at the same video that I referenced earlier for last year's Roggenbier, pretty much the same recipe. You know, we're at 48% Rye Malt, Mare's Otter 24%, German Pilsner 2-row 24%, and then both 2% each of Carafa 1 and Caramel 120 or Crystal 120. Mashing in at 156 for 60 minutes. I did a mash out. I was hoping to have some pretty decent head retention. I mean, we've got a little bit. It's kind of gone into a small ring. Like I said, I've been fighting some carbonation issues with this one. It was way too high, where when I went to go fill up the bottle, it was mostly foam. I backed it down, built it back up, and it's just kind of been a back and forth game. At this point in time with this beer, I'm just kind of happy that it tastes good, right? So I'm not going to beat it up too much as far as that goes. I'm going to try it again next year, and just kind of go from there on it. So we did SAAZ. See here, 12.5 IBUs for a 60-minute edition. Whirlfloc tablet at 15 minutes. Another dose of SAAZ, 4.5 IBUs, and then our yeast nutrients at the 10-minute mark. With this one, we used the Hefeweizen WLP300 yeast for that. Now, this is where things kind of get a little bit different from last year's version to this year's. So last year's version, up until OpFirm 2023, when we won the medal, I've always brewed it at room temperature. Didn't really have good fermentation control aspects for that to do like cool fermentation, right? So we had made some changes a little bit last year, and I've actually been able to be fortunate enough to have a subscriber give us a temperature controlled conical fermenter to be able to essentially do 2 fermentation controlled fermentations at one time. And so this was one of them. The Kentucky Common was one of them. I kind of did them back to back and had them kind of going at the same time. So that was pretty awesome to be able to do. So this one, we pitched our yeast at 63 degrees Fahrenheit. We let it free rise to 68. We held 68 degrees fermentation for 3 days. I raised a degree a day until we hit 72 degrees. We held 72 degrees for a week and then we kegged it. To note, this one came in a little bit under our starting gravity, our normal starting gravity. We finished right around there, so this one turned out to be a little bit lower ABV. The mouthfeel feels wonderful. It kind of has medium mouthfeel that's a little bit creamy. As far as the color goes, you can tell we've got a little bit of darkness there, a little bit of haze. It's not clear at all. This is probably the haziest I've ever have made this beer, which is kind of weird to me. I don't really know what went on there. I know that according to the style guidelines, we're allowed to have a little bit of haze, especially, you know, using that Hefeweizen yeast and whatever. So I guess maybe we had some of the like thermodynamics or whatever that you experience with some of the like hazy IPAs, you know, New England type ones. I know, you know, Hefeweizens can kind of be a little hazy with all the adjuncts and stuff in them, but I think that this might be borderline a little bit excessive with it, but it's still a good beer, even though it looks like some Mississippi water. I like it. I get a very, very nice rye hit right off the top, and then we kind of move into those SAAZ type characters, you know, a little bit of the spiciness and you know, even the earthiness, kind of like wood-like character. That rye just really hits you. If you don't know, I love some rye. I love a lot of rye beers. I love rye whiskey. You can't almost rye me out as far as that goes. Rye beer, rye bread is kind of hit or miss if I like it or not. I think it just kind of depends on what else is going on in the bread. But as far as beers go, I think rye belongs in beers. And that finish, that just end finish note on it, it's creamy, but it's not like too creamy. It's not like you have to chew it, which is of course good, right? Especially in this 9 million degree weather with all these cicadas yelling from the trees. So the last video was the Kentucky Common. I would say that that was kind of more of a lawnmower beer, right? So you come in from some yard work, you grab a pint of that. I feel like this is, the way that this one's heading, this is a little bit more relaxing beer. You're not gonna wanna go back to mowing the lawn after this thing here. Even though it's a little bit lower ABV, it just kind of leaves you feeling a little bit fuller. Still a phenomenal beer. I really like it. It's kind of hard, honestly, to tell you that if I like last year's a little bit better than this year's. They're definitely two completely different beers, right? You know, we had a lot better clarity and all that on the other one. We'll have to wait and see how some of these score sheets are coming back. I've only got one score sheet back on this one. Wasn't quite happy with it. Funny note, really, to tell you the truth, some of the beers that I turned in that I've gotten some score sheets back on, ones that I thought I kicked out really like on top of things, kind of came back a little bit more poorer than I thought. Some of the ones that I just kind of threw in just to see what happened performed very well. So that kind of helps me out a little bit on the Master Homebrew program. If you don't know it, go check it out. Link will be in the description along with the recipe. As always, thank you guys for coming to check us out. Look at these silly beers that I've been making, listening to my silly rambling that I do, and the shenanigans we get into together. Cheers, y'all. We really appreciate it.